Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nubrays. Today I'm going to break down quickly enough the CvC champions that are boosted during CvC, obviously enough. So yeah, this is a non-personal reward CvC. It's on tomorrow, of course. I will, of course, be streaming the CvC, so as soon as it goes live, come hang out. I am feeling a bit sick. My girlfriend got something. She's like a couple of days ahead of me. I then cut it off of her. So yeah, hopefully it'll still be fine. Chug some paracetamol and go. Should be fine. We'll see. Drink some coffee and paracetamol. The ultimate remedy. Yeah, this is not personal rewards. It's gonna be pretty chill one. We're gonna be doing just a chill stream. It should be fun. And also, this is sort of my message, right? We do have some really strong champs like Odin. Whoo, we've got Armans. Ooh, we got some great champs in here. But this, nonetheless, and I'll talk about all these champs. Nonetheless, it is a fairly random event, fairly in the middle of nowhere, certainly not in the middle of anything important. It's a non-person word CvC. And, of course, speaking of Armans, remember, the March fusion last year was Armans. We're coming up to March. We could easily have a crazy OP. I think it was even Armans into Wixwell last year. So we could easily be going into a part of the year with, presumably they'll do community weeks again, which was Wixwell. Presumably they'll have a really strong fusion for their anniversary, which is Armans. And they could easily also be running like big events to get souls for those champions. Like, my goodness, needless to say, if they ran Armans and then a Titan event for a 5-star soul for Armans, would that be worth going for? Yeah, obviously. So, they could easily be doing stuff like that for the next couple of months. So I would be careful with any resources I had for the next couple of months. I would really try to save. And hey, if nothing exciting happens, then just spend them all a couple of months after that. There's no shortage of stuff. So there you go. That is my warning. But nonetheless, if you do want to pull, or if just you want my thoughts on how good these champions are, let's take a look. So let's do the Ancients, Primals, and Sacreds first for both days. Spoiler, Wednesday is, I think, a good bit better than Tuesday, though Tuesday's got a nice mix. Freya is very good. In fact, I was just looking. I do use Freya actually a lot now in Arena. I like her build. I think the fun thing about this champ is there's a ton of different ways to build her. I think a crucial thing, I use her basically in place of Sifi in live arena quite often. She's very like Sifi. She's got a incredible base speed at 110, really strong. And she's got a 20% turn meter boost with a cleanse and block debuff. It's a great move. And then her A2 is the increased defense and a massive shield. And her passive, this version makes her shield better, and she can keep your damage dealer alive. This is quite unreliable. I think for me, this is actually the most underwhelming part of her kit. But her A1 can do pretty good damage, and she can counterattack as well with this every now and then. So I do have her built for damage as well. I have her like 270 crit dam, 100% crit rate. She does decent damage, though I don't have lethal or anything on her. But you could build her just as super quick and no damage. You could build her pure damage and have the support be just another way. I'm a huge fan of Freya. Like I said, I use her actually quite a lot. So I think Freya is actually really good. Wixwell, I think, is really good as well. He's a lot better now with the Hydra AI changes, where he will actually target his counterattack. Sorry, his A1. He will actually A1 the Head of Decay and provoke them, which is huge. And then, again, I've done multiple videos on Wixwell. Yeah, back when he first came out, I did a whole video, whole showcase of Wixwell when he first came out. What you do is you put him in the lead position, in position 1 in your Hydra team, the aura position, and then because he's putting a huge shield and he's got decreased attack, and he extends the shields and boosts the shields, because of that, you should keep generally everyone on your team, he can keep them generally at full HP. And then, because they're full HP, the Head of Decay will automatically A1 the person in the lead, because he targets the person with the lowest HP. If everyone is the same, he hits the lead position, and if Wixwell is in the lead, he counterattacks and just provokes the guy again, and then he A1s because he's forced to provoke, he hits the lead, and so on. I showed that off in the very first Wixwell video, and I got, I don't know, countless comments tell me I sucked. It was my reward, and I'm a Plarium Shill, and Wixwell was trash. That was a weird time in Raid. I don't know what people were smoking. Obviously, Wixwell is very good, mostly for Demon Lord and Hydra. He's a bit more limited. I think Freya is probably very good in those areas as well. Like, she'll keep your team alive very, very well. and like protect them from stun, and Demon Lord too. I think she'd be very good there. But of course, she doesn't bring the buff extension that Wixwell does. Regash is good. Kyoku is decent. Helikath is also really good. This is an interesting one. Helikath versus Wixwell. I don't know. Wixwell is easier to use, for sure. Helikath needs to be run in specifically speed-tuned teams. And he's okay in Arena. I'm not a massive fan of him in Arena. He's definitely fallen off, but he's okay, for sure. He's not bad. But he does open up Unkillable Demon Lord. I think the Wixwell team is just easier to do, though. But he also is very good for Iron Twins. Again, I haven't actually compared them directly before, to be honest. I suspect Wixwell basically lets you do everything Helikath does, specifically. But he's just easier to use, would be my thought. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. If I had to choose between the two, I personally would pick Wixwell. But let me know. Maybe I'm crazy. I'm guaranteed there be people with other the opposite take. People say no. I would always go for Helikath over Wixwell. I'm curious what the most common take is. I don't know. So yeah, I think Regash is decent. He's sort of fallen off a little bit for me. He's still good, and he is Spirit, which is nice. But this is a great move. AoE, decreased defense stun. You know, it's very like Odin, just he doesn't have the buff strip, but it does really good damage. It's his main damage move. It's nice having a Spirit Affinity damage dealer. He can definitely kill people with this. He does a lot of damage. He's fine. I don't use my Regash half as much anymore. Part of the problem, of course, is that, you know, having that good defense, even though he's a defense damage dealer, I still find that gear is in pretty high demand for me. Like, I've got a Torment. Staltis is not bad either. Regash. And of course, Marius. It's tough to find enough damage gear to make use. He's not bad. That I don't find myself using him crazy much, but he is certainly viable in high-end Arena. So he is good. And he's got great wave control, so he's good. I'm not a huge fan of Kyoku. You guys know this. She's okay. She's not a dwarf. She's Shadowkin. I think she's okay. You could definitely do some fun stuff where if enemies have decreased attack already, she can actually be an AoE burn. She can certainly protect your team pretty well. She does good single target damage, but I'm not a massive fan of her. Compared to these other champs, I suspect you would use them a lot more. So for me, I personally put Freya first, then Wixwell, then Helikath, I think, for day one. On day two, I think it's a better day. Arman's is definitely number one for me overall. Prisma is quite interesting. Thor is very good. Samson and Nethril, not too pushed about. So to look at these, well, I mean, let's go backwards. Let's look at the bad ones. Nethril's over here, I think. Yes, I think it's an AoE stun. Not even 100%. 4-turn cooldown, AoE, 75% chance to stun. This champion is old. 75% turn meter decrease on a 4-turn. A1 with chance to put, I mean, like, guys, yikes. You compare him to Arman's. That shows you the power creep in this game. And Arman's is like a year old. Arman's was just ahead of his time in terms of power creep. Arman's is still OP today, and he's a year old. That's insane. Poor Nethril. Yeah, yikes. Skinwalkers. He's not useless, but I mean, he's not good. Samson is okay. Again, he's a HP damage dealer. I wouldn't be going out of my way for him compared to these other champs, but I mean, he's got big AoE. The extra hit if he kills an enemy makes it do good damage. And he's got a cool passive where he always counterattacks when he's crit, which is cool, and a 50% chance to counterattack otherwise. And his A1 can stun. He's a nightmare to fight in Curse City. But yeah, I think he's fine. He's only okay. I think he's better than this. He's like very much like a B tier damage dealer. He's fine. He's decent, but he is not top tier by any means. And I think that these other champs probably are. I'm actually not sure. I've maybe rated Prisma too high. Excuse me. Thor is a brilliant damage dealer. Just AoE damage, lots of it. Self buffs increase attack as well. AoE decrease speed. The guy's a monster. Yeah, Thor is a brilliant damage dealer. I love him. He's one of the best for Hydra. If they ever nerfed Trunda successfully, I mean, they nerfed Trunda once and they actually made her better, weirdly. But if they actually ever nerfed Trunda, Thor would be way up there then. I mean, Thor is phenomenal. He's a great damage dealer. He is squishy. He's not great for Arena. He's not bad. But he's not top tier because he is ultimately a squishy character. But he is a great damage dealer. He's super fun. He does ignore block damage on Unkillable, which is pretty cool against champions. So Thor is pretty good. Prisma, did I overrate Prisma here? Maybe. Prisma is new. Prisma has buff strip with an ally attack, and that ally attack then ignores defense. If they kill someone, it gives that your ally an instant turn. Kind of cool on a 3-turn when fully booked. And then does have a revive as well, which is pretty cool. Done on the A1. Can be flipping buffs and stuff around, debuffs around. Prisma's cool. How are people liking Prisma? Yeah, not super much. I think I'm overrating Prisma. I'm actually going to I don't know. Can I? How do I make that line shorter? I don't know how. I'll just make all the other lines longer. There we go. In comparison, we'll make Wixwell longer and Helikath longer. I would find it tough to decide between Thor, Wixwell, Helikath. Honestly, like on a new account, I'd probably honestly be going for Wixwell or Helikath if I was struggling on the eraser work. Oh, it does. It just erases everything. Yeah, I'll put Prisma somewhat like that. I'd probably myself go for Wixwell or Helikath maybe over Thor. I'm going to say Thor and Helikath for me be somewhat similar. But I mean, unlocking clan boss and stuff obviously is important. But then again, bear this in mind, this is, in terms of a 15 and progressive chance event, to have enough shards to contemplate this, really, you're probably, or to have even a good chance of getting them, you're really past the point, I would think, where Helikath is in any way relevant, really. But I mean, if you're an early game player, you're just dipping in, God, Helikath would be crazy good. Anyway, look, that's where we are. For the Voids, Grazor to Hanorach Bellatar. I feel like power creep is pretty harsh here, and Bellatar was never that good. Now, Odin and Riho to Misia, these are very strong. Odin is definitely my number one pick here. Odin is fantastic. Love Odin. I would really, really like an Odin. He's got an absolute... I think I really underestimated him when they first came out. I misread his passive when he first came, or misinterpreted it, quite embarrassingly so. But he's crazy good. He's got solid base stats, but an absolutely insane aura. Obviously, no mythicals can yet make use of this, but by the time Void Mythicals come around, that'll be another level of power creep altogether, but absolutely crazy aura for Arena. His passive is nuts every 9 turns. Just buff spreads all of his buffs, including block damage, is insane. He's got a full buff strip with decreased defense and a stun. Insane. No weak hits, right? And then he's got a full buff steal. That's an enemy max HP hit. You build him with like 200% crit damage, 100% crit rate. He can typically one-shot people most of the time with this, and it's a revive as well, which is nuts. His A1 is okay. This one doesn't tend to be super useful, but the Berserk, it's okay. But yeah, Odin is just fantastic. What a champion. He's a monster. He's just so good. Big fan of Odin, as you can tell. I'm a big fan of Riho as well. My terrible lines here. Riho, I think, is really good, but I definitely go for Odin first. But Riho, she's got phenomenal single target debuffs. And then she's got block debuffs for your team and a really big heal and a cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown. It's very short. That's very nice. Yeah, I think Riho is good and solid, and she's great for bosses like Chimera and, Sand Devil and Shogun. They're a lot easier. But yeah, she's a great champ. She's very nice. I think she's very well worth it too. She's good. Timisia, AoE burn. Not too exciting, honestly. Bellatar, again, he's the Ogren Reviver. He's not really too exciting. I think he really needs a buff, actually. He needs a bit of a buff. He's a very, very bland reviver. It's not bad, but he's very bland. Hanorach and Grazor, I think both have been power crept pretty hard. Hanorach is probably, I think, still a bit better. Some nice buffs. She does have the decreased sack block buffs, and she can spread it. She's got the decreased speed A1. She's doing healing. She's cleansing a lot of debuffs. She's good, but I think there are many, many more good options nowadays to compete with her. There's a lot more block buff champions that are more, they're less reliant on the spreading 2 random debuffs to achieve block buffs for Hydra. That's a big weakness. There are more good increased speed champs. There's more good cleansers and whatnot nowadays as well. I feel like she's a lot more competition. I personally wouldn't rate her this high. I think she's still good. I think she's actually the best option from this day, but I would personally go for Riho over to Hanorach. And Grazor, again, Grazor got power crept. I feel pretty hard. He's still good, and he's got some unique stuff going on. But when he came out, an AoE, 3-turn cooldown, enemy max HP attack, pretty phenomenal. And And Marius comes along and is like, well, I do 3. I do 3 times as much damage as you, sir. Good day. You know? It's like, what, bruh? What? Yeah. And Krizia obviously does the double enemy max HP hit. He's still very good. He does have the AoE provoke on a 3 turn, which is nice, with increased resist, increased defense. And the buff extension on this move is phenomenal. So he can actually keep increased resist up full time on your team. He's probably still the best increased resist champ in the game. He's got a cool passive. He is a great champ. He's good. But yeah, like might arguably still be a 5 for Hydra. But then again, he might not be. I don't know. I do feel like Grisor he's still very good, but I think he's definitely fallen off. He's not bad, but he's not absolutely crazy. I'd say maybe about that good. I don't know, roughly. I'm being probably a bit harsh on Bellatar. He's fine. And Tunisia is fine too. But there we go. Those are sort of my quick thoughts on these sorts. I'm going to actually say Samson is a bit better than Nethril. Poor Nethril. My thoughts on these sorts of champs. There we go. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Again, I would not recommend pulling for this, but it's always fun to talk about the champions, where they're at, and how the game is changing. Like, again, I feel like a couple of years ago, Grisor and Tuhanarak were absolutely bonkers, right? They were so good. And nowadays, I feel like they're not quite as good. One thing, again, that's so shocking to me is Armanz has really, gosh, he's still so ridiculous. I mean, there's a lot more counters to him now with the intercept buffs, with relics as well to counter, but he's still picked constantly all the time. Like, Armanz is still crazy. Wow, one of the top value holding champions in the game for sure. And as a fusion, probably the longest reigning. I mean, Rotus as well. Tormund somewhat too. But I mean, he's easily top 5. No question is he top 5 in terms of fusions that maintained an absurd value. He's crazy good. So there you go. That's that. I'll see you guys for the stream tomorrow. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.